Hello, I'm Agle, software engineer. I work on IBM Z Monitoring Configuration Manager, and in this video I will show you how to troubleshoot it. If you are familiar with Configuration Manager, you already know that it provides a batch interface. All actions submit a similarly structured job, and we made sure that this output contains important details which you can easily read. You will learn how output is organized. There are only a few principles. So let's have a look. I will be using just2 to run my jobs and SDSF to read the logs. The best way to read it is splitting the job log into individual DDs. In SDSF, it is done by using a line operator, ? To have DDs shown to you separately. This way you can skip 3 just standard DDs at the top. Usually they don't contain Omegamon-specific configuration errors. But if there are issues with standard system resources, these message logs can be useful. Configuration Manager logs the most important details about its workflows in KCI print. We carefully selected what should be shown here for maximum clarity. Reading it is useful even when your job completes successfully. KCI print can contain warnings and informational messages. In KCI print, we will always print KCI Omega start and end messages, as well as lines containing system context, such as sysplex and LPAR names where the job is executed, the IPAR number for the maintenance level, etc. With the recent maintenance updates, we added some important details as well as removed some. For example, in generate and migrate actions, we added stage completion messages. These messages are updated real-time when the job is executing, so if you're manually tracking the job execution, you can keep refreshing and see how far the job has progressed. We included a timestamp so you could better understand how much time each stage takes. Another DD that is always printed is called KCI trace. It is quite long as it contains all of the details from workflows it ran. KCI trace prints messages sequentially, which means that most errors can be found right at the bottom of KCI trace. For successful job runs, we do not recommend reading this output, but it can be useful when something goes wrong. One of the recent updates reduced the number of DDs kept in spool once the job is finished. Before this update, Configuration Manager jobs produced a very large output with a number of DDs that couldn't fit on a single screen, if it was a generate, for example. Most of the output was diagnostically irrelevant. So now we clean up the DDs during the job execution. Deletion requests are issued in batches. The last batch is processed at the end of the job. You can find evidence of this DD deletion in KCI trace. KCI Omega program issues a request to job entry subsystem for the output to be removed and logs it here. One disclaimer: deletion of DDs is supported in just2 systems only. You might wonder, what if I have an error? If that happens, the failing step will also be printed to the output. We only delete DDs from successful workflows. Whenever a job fails, we will show you which DD corresponds to the error, so you can jump straight to it from SDSF menu. Just type in F and the search keyword. Other DD that we chose to always print is called KCI vars O. It displays what sysint statements were passed to KCI Omega from KCI vars. So this is equal to this part in the JCL. And the last standard DD to be printed is DSN-PR out. It is printed if RTE-def exists and is required for an action that you are running. It captures all the member contents found in RTE-def library and member names. DSN-PR out is convenient because it concatenates member data, so you can just use a simple find command if you suspect some parameter is missing or is maybe specified twice. This combination of DDs that we picked as important and the rest of the JUS output can really be enough to diagnose many problems. That means when you're contacting support for help, you can just send us the job output. You don't need to pack the RTE-def library along with it. We can identify many issues using only the job log. However, in rare cases, the more detailed output might still be required. The deletion functionality can be disabled by running any action with an option debug specified in KCI bars in the Configuration Manager GCL. One detail you might want to be aware of is that for some DD names, such as when a standard IBM utility is used by the workflow, Configuration Manager uses a DD renaming facility. So some output datasets will be renamed to match the exec statement where they are executed. Let me show you an example when standard JES logs can provide some guidance as opposed to KCI print or KCI trace. In this example, I tried to allocate an initial RTE def on a high-level qualifier which does not have a RECF profile set. KCI print prints some errors, but the more detailed error can be found in JES message log. Let's continue with a misconfigured RTE and run a generate. Some products require some files to be written to ZOS Unix system services file system, or depends on Java that is installed there. And due to the different access control management, quite often there are issues with running ZOS Unix steps. So this is what happened in my example. I used a directory I do not have access to. You can see that KCI print issues an error message. There is also a DD which is printed only because it contains an error, as mentioned previously. Imagine I really want to use this directory for my runtime environment, and I want to see if generate would complete successfully otherwise. I can solve the error by adding option no USS and rerunning the job. This way the steps that have access issues will be skipped. I can ask for that access in the meanwhile and then go back to it with option USS. So if we fast forward a bit, let's see that there are no access issues on Unix file system. The step that writes to it was skipped. So once you get it sorted, you can rerun the job with USS option that would execute only the missing step. Another common issue is wanting to move on from persistent data store version 1 to version 2, but not being able to pinpoint which product or flag is preventing us from that action. This is why we added v1 and v2 indication messages in KCI print, along with the reason if v2 is still not fully activated. We also added better reporting capabilities to Configuration Manager. So for those who are considering migration from ParmGen, Migrate has a great migrate report that shows parameters grouped by their type. It will tell you which ones will and which ones will not be migrated to a new RT definition library. For those who use Configuration Manager in a remote deployment scenario, you will like the deploy report, which lists dataset names grouped by their deployment status. This is all I wanted to show you today. I hope that after watching this, you will be more comfortable in navigating Configuration Manager output. See you next time.